All right, also joining us now, Florida Congressman Jared Moskowitz, member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He's been a staunch defender of Israel. Your reaction as this is unfolding this morning?
Well, obviously, it's going to be bittersweet news. Obviously, we're happy to get the hostages home. We want to get as many people alive home, but there are going to be some families that, may get a body instead. And so I'm happy that there's a deal. I think the ambassador is exactly right. I think there's multiple factors of how we got here. One, the military pressure on the ground, the changes in the region with Hezbollah. I think what happened in Syria also had played into a factor. And look, President Biden and Donald Trump should both get the credit for this. I think if you looked at a football game, President Biden carried the ball for the first three quarters. Donald Trump came in the fourth quarter and helped seal the deal. And so this has always been a bipartisan issue, trying to get to a deal, trying to end the war, trying to get the hostages out. And I think both men should deserve the credit.
So this is one of those rare things that there has been a lot of bipartisanship, for the most part, in Washington about Israel, about supporting them. There has been some quibbling and some outliers about what we do in form of aid and military aid and those kinds of things. But when it comes to looking ahead at more bipartisanship here in Washington, we've got brand new polling here this week that shows 78% of Americans think that Democrats should work with President Trump. Where do you think you can on issues like Israel, but beyond that? Because there's a long list of stuff to get done.
Well, yeah, look, my job in Congress is to represent my entire district, not a party. And if more people approach that, we would work together more often. And so, look, I'm going to work with the president where I can, and I will disagree with my colleagues where I must. And so I think Democrats last time around just resisted the president on everything. It was just constant outrage. And I think this time they need to shift to a different strategy of selective resistance. And so, where we can agree, we should try to agree. It may not be a perfect deal, but, and if we need to diverge, we should be loud and we should argue over that, but we should do it agreeably if we can. I think the American people want to see us work together. We'll see. We'll see if we're capable of that. The last 118th Congress proved that that may not be the case. But look, we'll see what happens in the 119th. The ratios are such that even though my colleagues have been talking about that the president got a mandate and he did electorally, that mandate does not exist in the House. Okay, they barely have a majority. And so if they want to work with us, I think they're going to find a willing partner.
Well, listen, you've done bipartisan work before. You were the director of emergency services down in Florida under GOP Governor Ron DeSantis. You're friends with Susie Wiles, who's going to be the incoming White House chief of staff. Your name's been thrown around for taking part in something with the Trump administration. Given the tight House margins, I'm not sure you'd be willing to walk away from your seat. But would you take a position within the administration? Well,
look, I'm serving in Congress. I like serving in Congress, and I'm running for re-election. Susie Wiles, I got to work with her in the DeSantis administration. She's very capable. And what I've said is people should never underestimate her. Susie is very good.
So maybe she could convince you?
I think she's been working on that. But here's what I will say. The reason why I've not come out and said I would never is because there's a history in Democrats and Republicans serving in each other's administrations. We've gotten away from that. I did it. In fact, I'm twice appointed by a Republican governor to nonpartisan positions. And so I don't think a Democratic governor, when they're looking at FEMA, should say, I'm not going to look at 50% of the country. I don't think a Republican president should say, I'm not going to look at 50% of the country for these nonpartisan positions, whether it's FEMA or USAID. And look, if President Trump wants to appoint me to the Supreme Court, I'm not sure I would turn that down. Okay, so
I'll let you know if there are any retirements.
Yeah, you'll let me know.
Pending.
Let me know.
Okay, so let's talk about TikTok, because you voted for this ban, which is now, it's in effect as of today. But news out this morning that President Trump not only is trying to pause this and potentially save it, there's a provision in the statute that would allow him to do that if there's significant progress on a deal, but also talking about allowing some measure to continue of Chinese ownership as long as there were firewalls in place. I'm not sure the statute allows that. What's your reaction?
Well, look, I voted for the sale, right? I mean, the whole idea was hopefully
save TikTok.
Yeah, the save TikTok. The whole idea would have been that the Chinese Communist Party would go out and make billions of dollars and they would sell it to an American company. They decided not to do that. We should question why. Why didn't they want to do that? What is it with the algorithm that they don't want us to find out about? And if you look at the Supreme Court case, there's some issues there about whether they have access to iMessages, whether they have access to your contacts. I mean, there's some questions there. That's why there was a big bipartisan vote. Let's not forget President Trump started this when he was president, that he wanted to ban TikTok. He talked about that. His Republican colleagues picked up the mantle. But it was a major bipartisan deal. But look, this is part of Donald Trump's brilliance that Democrats have constantly not understood and have undervalued, which is he comes in now and he gets to play savior, right? He's gonna make the grand bargain deal. I hope whatever deal it is, and if he wants to sell it to Kevin O'Leary and make TikTok wonderful, that's fine with me. I want it to be TikTok to exist. I want TikTok to be owned by an American company so we can get rid of the Chinese Communist Party having access to American data. That is a national security risk.
Okay, it was a bipartisan thing that happened in Congress. And a lot of Americans, well, they're very split over this TikTok issue. But a lot of them are not split when it comes to congressional approval. Our latest poll shows 26% approval for Congress, 67% disapprove. Why is that? Will it change under this administration?
I mean, if I'm just being honest with you, it's because we suck. I mean, that's why it is. I mean, the data is clear, and it's been clear, right? I mean, look at what happened to the 118th Congress, right? I mean, we removed a speaker. That had never happened in American history. Then they almost removed the second speaker. Democrats had to step in to table that. You know, every time Democrats remove a Republican from a committee, Republicans then go and remove 2 Democrats from a committee. It's like high school. It's tit for tat. And we are breaking the place every single solitary day. And both parties are doing that. Okay. And so every norm that no one wants to defend that goes, that's fine. It just means that the House is going to continue to not be able to function. You want to know why we have all of this debt? It's because of Congress and the Senate, and the bipartisan work that we've been doing has got us to this debt. And so all of these problems we have are not going to be solved by one party. I have bad news for my Republican colleagues. They're not going to be able to do this. We're going to have to do this ourselves. So we dug this hole together. We're going to have to get out of it together.
Okay. Well, we'll continue to track everything that's going on in the House. And if you decide to go to the Trump administration, let us know.
I'm sure you'll report about it.
Congressman, great to have you. Thanks for coming in.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.